Welcome guys, it's day 4 here at TGOM. It's our final morning and it's been a big journey for the brothers, and the way one of the things we say is if you can't sing and dance after the battle, what the fuck were you fighting for? And so one of the mystics, troubadours, musicians, fathers, brothers, sons that we love to collaborate with, we love to bring in is the wondrous Mr. Murray Kyle. So thanks for being here, bro.
My pleasure, my honor.
And my first question is, why is men's work important to you? And why did you say yes to come and support this vision, and what were you bringing?
Awesome. I'd say that the journey of being a man, biological, born, masculine, energetic, and re-establishing a sense of purpose for the masculine is a big draw of mine. There's something just naturally innate about gathering that energy, circulating that energy, coming into the cauldron of brotherhood that lends itself to a healthy world. You know, you look at any culture that's been intact over time, there is moments where the men gather, you know, whether it's hunting or sitting around the fire or ceremonial work. You know, there's moments where the men and the women take their places, find their roles, establish a path of sense making through those ways of being together. So, you know, we're kind of gathering, I would say we're gathering the threads again, you know, of a carpet that's been very dismantled systematically over time. You know, a lot of the stuff we know, you know, Industrial Revolution came in, dads were taken out of the home into the factory, you know, so, you know, yeah, we're in a time of re-establishment of and reconnecting to the ancestral male roles and archetypes in our beings. And so when we gather as a large circle of men, there's a lot of juice that arrives, and I love it. I love being here. I love bringing the kind of the thread that I carry in my offering is with sound and with song.
Yeah, you just had 250 men sounding, as you say, to take all the stigma away from singing, and
yeah,
there was a high proportion of those men cracked wide open from allowing themselves to express in front of, with, and alongside other men.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the common thread you see? Like, is that the piece that shows up?
I think it's on multiple fronts, but that's certainly a beauty, you know. Like when, you know, for me it's accessing and re-establishing a channel of communication that's very tribal, it's very innate, it's very instinctual. So by the re-establishment of that, we reconnect to our own instinctual circuitry, you know, and the beauty of doing that in a large, down in front, the beauty of doing that in a large circle of men is that there is that collective resonance, there is that collective regulation of the collective masculine nervous system. You know, it's like there's a shared experience. It's beautiful.
What do you receive from leading that many men through a process such as that and guiding them into what I hear is back home to a part of them that's primal and instinctual and essential? What do you receive?
Well, I receive exactly that at the same time, you know, and for me it's, you know, I've been carrying music for many years of my life, and I guess developing a toolkit which allows me to kind of step into that type of leadership role, that type of like just guiding how to enter that space. But once we're in, it's like all in, you know, it's like I'm right there. I receive so much by just sharing the field, you know, coming into the shared experience together.
Yeah, the intelligence of man comes online when someone like yourself stewards us into that place.
Beautifully articulated. Yeah. And so innate, you know, so innate. It's just like we're just reminding each other and reminding ourselves how to reinstate that and oftentimes it's a lot about doing less. It's a lot about getting out of the way and singing. And as you mentioned, I try to almost avoid the word singing because it's heavy with connotation. It's like singing is kind of like in our present cultural paradigm. It's pretty much on stage, unless you're a churchgoer, or maybe you get lucky, you're at the footy and you've got something you can rally around. But generally, like so it's like I try to bring it more in such a way that it's re-establishing sound and re-establishing the spectrum of expression that we can use with these beautiful voices and bodies.
Yeah, man. The research shows one of the biggest, essentially, killers of men and bringers of violence is men's inability to express a limited emotional vocabulary. And I feel what you bring is you dance around the defenses to express ourselves, and you allow us to bring forward the joy that comes from letting ourselves flow.
Thank you. Yeah. No, that building a deeper, I guess it's a type of capacity, but it's building a deeper transparency in which to express ourselves. When the emotion is hot, when the emotion is high, when the emotion is deflated, when the emotion is thin. It's oftentimes it's just stretching the human intellect outside of the linguistical frameworks. So oftentimes in a smaller group, usually when there's a bit more scope, we'll introduce ourselves, but we won't say, "Hi, my name's Murray." We'll introduce ourselves with a sound. So to draw on that in this moment, I would say, "Hey, Jadai, haha." And there's so much more. Like, give me a sound for this moment. So I can receive more in your sound than I can from your name. I get a little bit more. We get to bring a little bit more of our spirit comes through, a little bit more of our primal nature, a little bit more of like what's authentic, alive in this moment. And so, it's beautiful to curate, to cultivate, to resuscitate, to reinstate these, expression sessions.
The deeper ways of being man. A final question, Mr. Murray. What is your prayer? For the nation of man? What is it that you're wanting us all to step into, embrace, collaborate upon, and weave a thread? What's of high priority to you?
It's a deep question, and there's a few things that flooded in immediately which I could parrot off, but I'm gonna go with humility. I think, and with humility is born courage, and the right type of courage, which is, let's call it the courage of the king, can hold the fracture of our times, the desperation of our times, the heartache and the heartbreak of our times, can hold that side by side with the brilliance, with the celebratory exuberance, and with the joy that is our time. So I feel like just through our own human walk, through what we experience and reflect back and refract back to the world, having that broad cradle for ourselves individually and for our collective manhood and collective brotherhood, having that broad cradle in which to behold, and the spaces in which we can behold that spectrum, I feel like that is where wisdom starts to pollinate. Like we're under this beautiful tree, we're being pollinated by these flowers. Like it's like that, the spaces between the binary, the spaces between the sides. We're standing on these sides. It's like to hold the middle ground. that's what I'm getting to, is to anchor the middle ground, to have a capacity to anchor deeply and stay flexible.
There's many years of unpacking in that answer, so thank you, bro. Thanks for how you've lived and how you've walked, and for coming here and bringing that to these men in your very unique and potent way. Thank you, Mara.
Thank you. Well, we learn and grow together, and I'm just a pilgrim taking my first steps here with you.
Yo, thanks, bro. Thanks, bro. That's such a